to Around the World in 240 Minutes in association with Speakers Corner, who've collaborated with a number of expert keynote speakers from around the world to deliver this global virtual event. And it's a first for them in doing so. So wherever you are in the world today, thank you so much for joining us. It really is very much appreciated. I'm Nadine Dereza, and I'm going to be hosting this event today, as well as co-driving it technically over the next 240 minutes, so wish me luck, as we showcase how the power of the spoken word can inspire us to reach our true potential, even during the most challenging of times. Now, realistically, some of you may not be able to stay for the full broadcast, so you're welcome to pop in and out, depending on your other time commitments today. Alternatively, I would love you to spend the next 240 minutes with me, so we're in it together. I know the time fly by very quickly. The choice is yours. As mentioned, it is a showcase, and with that in mind, each speaker will present for 15 minutes, and then that'll be followed by a very short Q&A for about 2 to 3 minutes maximum. And then I'm going to move on to the next speaker and so on and so forth. We have 11 speakers lined up, and the idea is you're going to get some insights from around the world, maybe find out some different things about different countries you didn't think was possible or conceivable. Who knows? It's going to be some fresh insights. And we're going to be journeying to several countries, including like Australia, Ireland, Germany, and I don't want to sound like the Eurovision Song Contest, but we've got Russia in there as well, South Africa, the UAE, UK, and the good US of A, not necessarily in that order. And you can see the current running order on the Speakers Corner website, on the blog page of the site, or open up the PDF that you should have been sent when you were invited to register for this event. Now, the speaker intros I'm going to do are going to be incredibly short because I'm keen to maximise their speaking time, and the full biography details are also available on the Speaker Corner's website, and you can find loads of information about them that as well. And I know Nick and Dan from the Bureau are watching from their HQ throughout the broadcast, and of course socially distancing in the process. They're on hand to assist me as well, should the need arise, as well as being ready to speak to you if you want to talk to them about any of the speakers that we're featuring today. Now, in terms of submitting questions for the very short Q&As, please start sending them in now through the Q&A function. And if you could do me a favour, if you could write down the name of the speaker you would like the question directed at, that would be a great help, so I can get through the programme as quickly as possible. It would make my life a lot easier, as well as making sure the question is directed at the right person. First names will be fine, because for once we don't have any names being duplicated throughout this programme. If you could also put down where you're from, I'd love to know where you're watching this event or where you live at the moment, so we can see how truly global this event is. Now, of course, Twitter, we've got some usual details for you. You should all know the handle for Speakers Corner. It's speakers_corner, so speakers_corner. And the hashtag that we're using for this event is hashtag 240mins. And you can see no expense has been spared. I've even put a light box together with the name of the programme. You can see the hashtag down there if you need reminding at all. So it's hashtag 240minutes. Maybe send some pictures of where you are and what you're particularly liking about the programme, and something that's really sparked your imagination, some content you've heard that's going to make you do something different as a result of hearing one of the speakers. Share it with us. It'd be lovely to hear your thoughts. So we start our Around the World in 240 minute showcase in the United Arab Emirates, or the UAE. And I'm delighted to welcome Reg Athwal to this showcase. Now, Reg is an entrepreneur, he's a global family business, best-selling author, online content creator, and a global speaker. My goodness, does he get any time to sleep? This man is a busy guy. And he's here to talk to you about the rule of 63. So please give a virtual welcome to Reg Athwal.
Hello, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's well, and welcome. I'm glad to be the opening keynote speaker. I have 15 minutes to give you value. My title of my speech is The Rule of 63. What does that mean? Well, let me go back to around 2008. So I was in Dubai. I've got 4 children. 2 of my oldest kids at the time were playing football at a professional level. In fact, they started in the UK, and they were with Corva Coaching. Some of you may know them in the UK. Arsenal Football Academy, eventually in Dubai, Al Nassr Football Club. And why do I share this story with you? As a busy father traveling around the world, it was precious to me to be able to see them train. Very, very important. So having that opportunity one day, there I am at the football ground, the training ground, and on this lucky occasion, the head coach has turned up. He's a Dutch coach. Social distance even at that time was going on. He's at the end of the pitch. I'm there watching, and all I can hear is, and I look over at him and I think, obviously he's upset about something. Something's not right. So I decided to walk over and I say, hi, is everything okay? I'm the father of Rian and Karan, my 2 oldest boys. They're with your team. We haven't had a chance to meet before. Are you okay? You look a bit upset. He says, they're not doing it right. I said, doing what? So to put this into context, full football pitch, half the squad on one side, on the corner, cones all the way down to the other side, half the team on this side, cones all the way down. The objective is to get through the cones as fast as possible. You're timed, get to the outer cone, pass the ball accurately to your colleague and make sure that they do the same, and then go back and join the queue again, over and over and over and over again. And all here is, no, it's not right. I said, but what is it you see? He said, look, watch the next boy. Look where he starts from and look where he finishes. I couldn't see what he could see. And then eventually I got it. He said, look, when they get to the last cone, they're meant to be on the outside before they pass the ball. But if you start from the wrong place, you're going to be on the inside. You need to take an extra step. And as a result of that, that's going to cost us in 90 minutes. That extra step could be the difference between winning and losing. Wow. What a breakthrough moment. In that moment, what I learned was a valuable lesson, which was corrective action. Because what I said to him, what are you going to do now? He said, talking to you, I'm going to go over there, speak to the other coach, and make sure you get this right. And he had a whisper in the other coach's ear, came back. I said, what's going to happen now? He goes, well, you thought you were probably going home in an hour, take your boys home, but no, we're going to train for another 2 hours, and we're going to get this right. So let me pause for a second. In your business, when it comes to your team, how frequently do you observe what people actually do? Whether it's from a sales point of view, whether it's dealing with customers, whether it's meetings, whether it's strategy related stuff, product development, whatever it may be, any touch points of the business, how frequently do you observe what's going on? And that day I learned a couple of things. One, it's about observing what people are doing and seeing it with your own eyes. And 2, if you see something that's not right, get involved immediately, create corrective action, and then make sure you get people doing it over and over again. So how does this link in with the rule of 63? Well, between 2005 and 2008, I decided to get involved in some extensive research. I was curious, how can I have been into some companies and I see some people who are very average. They don't have high intelligence, but yet they're successful. And I come across other people with high degrees of intelligence, IQ, and yet they're not successful. How come I can go into building and everyone's working for the same company in an open planned office, and there's a team on one side that are successful, and there's another team in the same open planned office that are not successful? Why? They've got the same targets, they report to the same manager, they have the same shareholders and the same owner or the director. What is going on here? And this curiosity led to eventually going into companies and understanding what is really going on. So let me summarize. The rule of 63 starts off with understanding, if you can visualize a circle, an inner circle and an outer circle. As I was doing this research, I discovered that on the outer circle, you could focus on abilities and competencies and skills and train people up. But that's not going to create transformation. What you have to work on is in the inner circle, self. And you've probably heard some of these words: self-discipline, self-confidence, self-talk. The list goes on, self-motivation. So I decided to focus on two of those areas, which was linked to self-discipline and self-confidence. And I asked myself, if people could do the right things every day, consistently, and had absolute razor-sharp focus in that area, could they be successful? And the end result was this. I had heard of this concept of, if you do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. Have any of you come across that before? Maybe you can put it in the chat. And I thought, let me put this to the test, because I've done things for 21 days, but then I've gone back to my old operating system, my default setting. You know, whether it's in a business context, in a health situation, with a relationship, why do we keep going back to version 1.0, the default setting? Why is the upgrade not permanent? And then I had the breakthrough after experimenting with many clients. Here's how it works in very simple format for you. The first thing to do is pick one thing, only one thing you'd like to transform in your business, in your department, in your life. And by the way, could you all mentally focus on that right now? What is that one thing for you that you would like to transform? Mentally focus on it right now. And what would be one thing that you can do every day, which is really simple, in that area, every day for the next 21 days? I've just gone through the process the last 3 months where I've been creating a video every day. And now I've got to a point where I love doing it and I'm going to keep doing it. But the first couple of months last year was really difficult. I was lucky if I did one video on my online platform a month, got to 2 a month. But when I absolutely cracked it is when I did 1 a day. So going back to yourself, what is one thing that you could do which is really simple, but you're prepared to commit to it for 21 days? So I call this the change process in this cycle. Then what you do is you upgrade for another 21 days, and this time you take a bit more responsibility. You've now gone from being uncomfortable, oh, I can't do this, I'm not sure I want to do this. You've gone through the change process, and now there's a little bit of routine kicking in. There's a bit of appreciation. You're getting used to it. Maybe there's some quick wins that are coming for you, or you've had some wins. Your confidence is starting to build up. If you maintain this for another cycle of 21 days and you've got to 42, you're almost there. The next stage is another 21-day cycle to take it to 63 days. And in that last 21 days, you start to establish that foundation of transformation, from going from change process to building a habit process to eventually transformation. And I've done this with hundreds of companies around the world with their employees, and we've seen transformation happen during those 63 days. So picture if you started this tomorrow morning and you want to transform the last quarter of this year, starting from 1st of October, it starts from tomorrow morning. What is the one thing you're going to focus on and not let go of all the way through to the end of July? Upgrade, another 21-day cycle, end of August, upgrade, and then you'll get to the 29th of September based on working 5 days a week and taking your weekends off. And you will start to reap the benefits of this discipline. So that leads me to sharing with you 2 tools, which we've created many years ago as a result of this research. And the first one is called DDI. I'm sure some of you have come across key result areas in your business, okay, which is for medium to long-term results that need to be achieved. I'm sure some of you have got KPIs, key performance indicators, that you may be reviewing every 2 weeks or every month. One of the other things I realized looking at these companies was if you're reviewing things on just a monthly basis and you're trying to create transformation, it doesn't work. There has to be frequency. Some people call it micromanaging, especially in a crisis situation, but you need to be on top of something. It doesn't have to be micromanaging, but you are micro overseeing, a bit like the Dutch coach. You have to observe on a daily basis what's going on. So we created DDI. It's called Daily Discipline Indicator. It's linked to the rule of 63 with that 21-day cycle. And it's about the daily discipline of the one thing that you need to focus on as your indicator for success. And now you focus on that every single day. So I'm sure that's very simple to understand. If you've got your KRAs, you've got your KPIs, well done. What's your DDI? What's your daily discipline indicator? Only one thing, and that will support you with your 21-day cycle change process, next 21 days, habit process, Last 21 days, establish transformation and then reap the benefits. So the next part of this research, as we're working with clients, we realize this is working. However, there are people who are slipping. They're slipping sometimes to the old operating system rather than upgrading fully. So what do we do? Well, the next thing came in, which was accountability. We all need accountability to create that transformation. So the next tool that we created was what we call ROI, not return on investment, but it will lead to that if you implement what I'm going to share now when it comes to ROI. Let me explain the ROI process, and hopefully you can implement this literally tonight, tomorrow morning with your teams, as well as focusing on that DDI, one thing every day with those 63 days. So how does it link? Well, imagine I'm your boss and you decide to do a daily ROI. And you're going to send me an email at the end of the day. Let's say we agree some ground rules, 5 p.m. You'll send me your ROI. It'll take you no more than a couple of minutes to do. You'll send it to me by email or any other app or device system, cloud-based stuff, software, whatever you're using for communication tools in your organization, whatever works. For now, I'm just sticking with email if that's okay. So at 5 o'clock, let's say Fred emails me and I get an email. I know who it's from. I know the department. I've got the date. I can see that. And it's, boing, it's turned up in my inbox at 5 p.m. What's in the email? The first heading will be what we call results. Okay? Capital letters, results. And underneath that, here are the ground rules. We call it the 7x7 rule. We're looking for no more than 7 bullet points. And in each bullet point, there's an average of 7 words. Why is this important? Because it's easy to digest, and it also trains people with the ground rules that we have is not to give stories, we want facts. I'm not looking for a chapter of a book. We also want results, we don't want excuses. We also want to see what could be measurable, what's increased or decreased or grown or reduced, whatever. We become more efficient, more productive. How many calls did we make? How many customers did we meet? Did our footprint increase? Whatever it may be. So hopefully you've all got that results, 7x7, and on each one of those bullet points or lines, you've got specific things on what's been achieved for today. Simple. Next, below the results, you've got the next heading in ROI, which is objectives. Same rules apply, but the objectives that are listed are for what you've got planned for tomorrow. So you're getting into a mental state of rehearsal, just like athletes. They don't just turn up for the 100-meter sprint. They've rehearsed for 5 hours a day, months in advance. So by getting people to rehearse the night before, they're already thinking about what they've got to do tomorrow. It brings focus. And now what I'm looking for is those 7x7 bullet points, sharing with me exactly what they've got planned and what are their objectives for tomorrow. The last bit is the I in ROI, which could be negative or positive. The first one would be issues. So maybe they have an issue, normally in 4 areas. Themselves, they have an issue somewhere. They need some coaching or support or training or whatever, or clarity. Or it's the team, the second one. We call it, there's a team issue. Third one, it's a company issue. And fourth, it's external. Okay, 4 things to remember whenever there's issues. You, the team, the company, or external. So they list it out, and we're going to basically address those things immediately. Maybe they'll get a call from me as soon as I get the ROI and say, look, I've noticed that you've got this issue. Let me connect you with Nigel. Let me connect you with Stef, because maybe that's what we need to sort out immediately so you are good to go tomorrow morning. If you don't have this daily rhythm, you'll be shocked how many people put issues under the carpet. And it's affecting the results of the company. 1 month goes, a quarter's gone. Before you know it, 6 months has gone. Before you know it, a year's gone, and we haven't hit our targets. So it can also be positive, which is ideas, improvement, innovation. Maybe they've picked up something that was really good and it could be replicated. It could also help other people in the organization, or it's an idea that can be parked and it's for the innovations meeting we're going to have at the end of the month. ROI, results, objectives, issues, ideas, improvements, innovation. If you've got this going on every single day with your manager, your direct report, your boss, the owner, and subsequently doing this with your team, and we've seen this cascade down in some of our family business clients around the world with 2,000-3,000 employees. Very, very powerful. So on that note, okay, I think in summary, I wanted to leave you with the rule of 63. 21 days, 21 days, 21 days. Pick the one thing from a DEI point of view that you need to work on. Stick to doing that and get some accountability with your daily ROI with your boss, and subsequently do it with your team. And I can assure you, by 1st of October, you will start reaping the benefits for the last quarter of 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reg, indeed. I loved the idea of your daily discipline indicators. And I know you've been putting that to good use all around the world. I mean, I've just seen that you're a world certified speaker. I just want to get your thoughts, though, on your impression about what the situation we're going through at the moment. It's going to take a different set of leadership skills, isn't it? And a new way of thinking to get through these times. So everything that you've spoken about today, that rule of 63 and the DDI and the ROI, is that applicable? Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, with a crisis situation, and you've got to remember the research that I originally did was 2005 to 2000. So by the time we finished the research, we thought we're done, when really we'd only just started because the global recession came along, Nadine. And when that recession came along, we carried on with this process of rule of 63, the DDI, and the daily and weekly ROIs in some cases with some teams. And every single one of our clients we work with during that crisis is here today and still prosperous and grown. For me, the next test is now, pandemic 2020. And we'll make sure that we continue with the implementation of these things. But yes, it's simple, it works. When there's chaos or a tornado or a hurricane in our culture, we need even more focus. And it has to be kept simple. And that's what these tools do.
Indeed. And I know you've obviously spoken around the world at numerous conferences and shows, but it's so much more than just speaking, isn't it? It's actually helping clients, and that particular focus on family businesses as well. Can you share with us some of your successes that you've had with clients and what they've managed to achieve as a result of meeting the power that is Reg?
Well, we as speakers, and all my fellow speakers who will be integrating with what I call that outer circle, when I was talking about the inner and outer circle, they'll be touching on all those points. We are all experts, authorities in our area. We will give great ideas, but ideas on their own don't mean anything. It's all about implementation. If I can leave you with this one thing, as you listen to my fellow speakers, is you've got to take action from what you're going to learn today. If you're just listening and you're in and out, and it's a big thank you at the end and you don't do anything, this is a waste of your time and our time. And so for me, it's about implementation. And to answer your question, Nadine, let me summarize. We work with 128 entrepreneurial and family businesses around the world in 22 countries. From doing these things, we've increased their revenues by $6.2 billion and increased their equity value. That's the result, from doing these things. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, Reg. And just very quickly, that would have been a nice way to end. However, I did ask people to send questions. It'd be very rude of me not to bring in Christoph from Belgium, who's written a lovely question. I say bring in, I'm going to read the question out. How often should one apply the ROI method? Weekly? What's the periodicity of it?
Yeah, really, really good question. Thanks for that. I recommend that if you're in a situation where you really need transformation, you need the results, things are not working, you've got to have your rhythm of your daily ROI with your teams, okay? It's only going to take a few minutes in the morning to maybe discuss your ROI with them, make sure you're getting it by email, whatever system every day. But when things are working, I'd suggest you move to a weekly ROI. Some of our clients around the world have gone to a fortnightly ROI and then gone, we want to go back to weekly because we feel more accountability on a weekly basis. Because if things aren't working for 1 week, you've already lost 1 week of the month. Why leave it to random chance? Be on top of things. So I'm really glad you've asked that question. There's another tool which I haven't shared today, but it's the mother of ROI. It's called ROPE, Results, Objectives, Plan, and Execution. And ROPE has 20 guidelines of a proper presentation that's done at the end of the month with everyone round the table with proper facts presentations. So that's what would happen on a monthly basis.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Reg. And what a fantastic way to actually start this showcase. Thank you, Reg, for all your hard work. And of course, speak to the Speakers Corner office. This is a guy that is incredibly experienced, one of the top world keynote speakers. It's been an absolute pleasure. Say hello to the UAE from the rest of the world and good luck to you. Thank you, Reg, indeed. Our showcase is over the next 240 minutes and counting. Obviously, we've already started it. So I know some of you have just joined us. Welcome to you. If you want to submit questions, you're more than welcome to do so. If you're wondering why the chat function isn't working, I can basically chat to the speakers backstage. We've got them in a virtual backstage area. So it's nothing to do with your system. We've disabled it deliberately, but you can post your questions. As we've seen, we've already had a question from Belgium. So keep your questions coming in, and remember to write down the name of the speaker you'd like the question directed at. Okay, so our next speaker, I'm delighted to say, is Geoff Ramm. He is the creator and author of Celebrity Service. Geoff is an expert in highly successful marketing ideas and tailored customer experience. And he challenged and inspired audiences across 42 countries to create award-winning ideas to outperform the competition. Hopefully that summed it up nicely for him. So please welcome Geoff Ramm.
I am, Nadine. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. You're looking very fine and dandy, liking the waistcoat look. Inspired by the England manager, I think.
Absolutely. Gareth Southgate is my hero.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that. So, sir, I'm going to be on screen with you, if that's okay. I know you wanted a sort of an audience, so I'm going to...
I wanted a friend. I wanted to see somebody.
Can you see me okay?
Absolutely. Perfect.
Brilliant. Geoff, your 15 minutes starts now.
Okay, well, hello everybody from all over the world. I'm going to give you three things today. Three things. One is a philosophy and a question that will transform your customer experience forever. The second thing I'm going to give you is a technique and an idea that will absolutely amaze your clients, amaze your customers, and will blow away the competition. And the third thing is, look, we can't get away from it. It's what we can do now. What can we do right now to create a greater customer experience? And that's what I'm going to talk about, these three things. But when we talk about customer experience and customer service, Nadine, I don't know about you, but I've read so many books, and I've seen so many speakers, and I've been on so many courses, and I've flicked through so many manuals, and it's the same old, okay? There's kind of only two things that every book, speaker, manual, trainer will tell you in order for your business organization to be the standout in your sector. There's only two things. The first is you must go the extra mile. Okay. And the second thing is you must always exceed expectations. We've been hearing these same two messages for 40 years, easily the last 4 decades. Go the extra mile, exceed expectations. It was fine back in the day, but it's hardly going to inspire you and your team to come up with the ideas to really set yourself apart. So the philosophy I'm going to share with you today is a question, and the question is a philosophy. And when you ask yourself this, and when your team answer this, you will come up with the ideas to blow the competition away. It is this. If your next client, customer, were to tweet, email, walk into your office, pick up the phone, become your next client, but they were an A-list, celebrity, Hollywood, god or goddess, I'm talking Nadine, I'm talking Brad Pitt, I'm talking Angelina Jolie, I'm talking this sort of A-level Hollywood star. If the next customer was somebody like this, what would you say? What would you do? How would you react? How quickly would it take you to get the proposal? How would you deliver it? What would be the difference? What would be the difference in service levels you would give them to Geoff Ramm and Nadine here today? The difference is the gap. Right now, we all think we're delivering a high level of service. We're all pretty good. Now, in 42 countries over these years, working with many brands all over the world, it's a question that I ask. On the scale of 1 to 10, if 1 is abysmal but 10 is incredible, what number would you give yourself for the levels of service you're providing? The vast majority of the world will say we're a 7 or an 8. We're quite high. And people say to me, Geoff, we're pretty good. And I get it, that's good. 7 or 8 is a high number. But I say, what happens if a celebrity, an A-list celebrity, god or goddess, what if they were to become your next customer? Where would your service levels go? And we think we deliver a high level of service, but your service levels go there. And that, Nadine, is the gap. The gap we don't realize exists within ourselves, within our department, within our organization, within our brand. It's the gap that if you can fill, there's not a competitor in your marketplace can touch you for the levels of customer experience and service you give. So that is the philosophy. And the philosophy is a question. And it's a question for everybody on this live summit today, to go back into your office, to get on a Zoom call, to gather your team and say, that email that you're going to send tomorrow, that proposal that you're going to follow up, that meeting, that if it was a celebrity, what would we have said? Would we have spent longer? What would the difference be? And the difference is the gap. And what I do as a speaker, what I do sharing hundreds of stories, techniques, ideas, inspiring, enthusing teams, is to show them how to build that gap, how to get that gap and to go from a 7 to an 8 to a 9 to a 10 and beyond. So that is the philosophy, and it's called celebrity service. Let's just ditch going the extra mile and exceeding expectations. We've heard it. It's nothing new. This is new. This is fresh. This is different. And it inspires people. And the greatest thing of all, and if we can do this at the end of our session, Nadine, I'll share some of the results, because when businesses and organizations adopt celebrity service, the results happen. And there's some things I want to share with you. So that's the first one, celebrity service. It's something very, very different, but you will create the ideas. But what will these ideas look like? I did promise on the 3 things. Number 2, I was going to give you an idea and a technique for you to blow away the competition, amaze your clients, really do something a bit different. Okay. I wonder what everybody, all the participants today, I wonder on their database, you know, their CRM system, I wonder of all of the data that they've collected over a client or a customer, I wonder if they've got one column missing. I'll tell you the columns that everybody's got. Here we go, and there's a little bit of a checklist. We could actually play bingo here. Okay, so number 1, I don't think I've ever said bingo in my life on a live event. There you go, bingo. Number 1, name. Number 2, surname. Number 3, company. 4, VAT number or company registration number. Telephone number, website, email. We have this thing called a CRM system. Guess what it is? It's a marketing system. That's all it is. We add people to it and we bombard them with stuff. But there's one column missing from everyone. And when you add this column, I promise you, your celebrity service experience will go through the roof. It's a column that's called loves. Loves. Okay? Now you have a relationship with a customer, with a client. You've maybe played golf with them. You have a conversation over the telephone. You know if they love certain things, because guess what? We build relationships. We build rapport. But what is it that Nadine loves? What does Geoff love? When you find this out, populate the column. Just add something in there. Populate that column. And at some point in that client journey, go back to this CRM system then that is now a CRM system and say, Nadine's coming to see us next Thursday at 10 o'clock. She's going to come to our office. What could we do? Let's go and have a look. What does she love? Could we make and do something very, very special? Really. So let me give you an example. Okay, so when it comes to loves, I love certain things. Family, cider, my football team, who currently aren't playing, brilliant. And the fourth thing is why I put the backdrop here, is why I've done it in my office today. I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan. Okay, So these are original signed. That's Harry Fisher. So I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan, okay? So I work with a lot of organizations in a lot of sectors. Travel, tourism, airlines, financial, everything in between, services, professional services, and also quite a lot in hospitality. And just last year, one of my clients is Village Hotels. It's a wonderful brand here in the United Kingdom, Village Hotels. And I did 2 main big conferences for them, working with all their general managers, working with their teams. We did 2 big events. And I tell stories. As you possibly gather, I tell stories on stage and also verbally. And we're talking about sort of loves and ideas, and I mentioned Star Wars, and I talked about a different story. 6 months later, I was booked at a conference on the south coast of England. I flew down and I took the taxi across, and I stayed at a Village Hotel in Portsmouth. Now, the event wasn't for them, and the event that I was doing for another client wasn't at the venue. It was just the local client put me up in a local hotel. It happened to be a brand that I knew, but I didn't know the general manager. I didn't know them at all. But I arrived, Nadine, at 10 to 12 at night. And I got my key card and was about to check in. And I put my card against the door. And I opened the door. And there, on the bed, I realized that this sounds a bit weird now, but on the bed, and I just laughed, was a cushion. How cool is that? Let me go one step further. Not just me. There was one for my wife. There was one for our daughter. And also for our son, Elliot. The general manager recognized on the booking, recognized that I was coming down 6 months later. And he got with the team and he did what I call a 2-minute challenge, 120 seconds of creativity in celebrity service. What does Geoff love? And they went out and they got this and they put it in the room. What did I do? And then I burst out laughing. It was stunning. I took a photograph and I've shared it across social media. That photograph and that story is going to go in my new book that's going to come out in 2021. You see, when we deliver a great experience to people, people will talk about us. If people aren't talking about you, you're not giving them a great experience to be talked about. We can't just go the extra mile and exceed expectations. Your competition have been doing this for decades. It is time for a change. Now, I must admit there'll be some people on this call, this session right now thinking, well, that's brilliant, Geoff, but I don't have a hotel. Okay, not everybody does. But, you know, maybe I'm a professional service, Geoff. Maybe, you know, we're lawyers or we're accountants. So how do we do this? I said, it's easy. It's really easy. So our accountant, and this is an idea I gave him some time ago, our accountant, it's a business called Valued. The gentleman, the entrepreneur is called Stephen Paul, wonderful guy. And you would go to his office, Haley and I would go to his office twice a year to talk about the business. And he would you like a tea or a coffee? And he would give us the tea or coffee. It's all great. And he said, I really want to create a greater experience from every single touch point. And he said, what would you suggest? I said, Stephen, you know we're coming. You know we're coming. You know that we're coming at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. You've known it's been your diary for a month. He said, yeah. I said, well, do something about it. And he had these mugs printed. See those? Lovely mugs. I said, all of your competitors have got that. I said, but when you know we're coming, you can create celebrity service magic. And for an extra few dollars, few pounds more, you can create something that your clients will talk about for decades. So that's something that we can do straight away. Take your CRM system, add that loves column, and create the magic. Those magic moments people will talk about. They will Instagram. Are you Instagrammable? So many of us aren't. We're just doing the same old, same old. I promised you one thing that you can do now. So we've had the philosophy of celebrity service. And by the way, it's not just a philosophy. Celebrity stands for consistency, excitement, which you've seen, love, engagement, bravado, response, independence, thank you, and you and your team. You've had the idea of excitement with the CRM system. Please, please do this and make those celebrity service moments come to life. The third thing I'm going to leave you today, the third thing is something I've been doing for 18 years in business, 18 years. Every Christmas time, I send out Christmas cards. My brand is on the front, really lovely designed cards. But 18 years, I've got a different card for every year, and it's something that I've always done. Right now, 2020, the year of years, your clients, my clients, they need help now. They need support now. They need us to offer as much as we can now. And guess what? They need more than anything else in the world a smile on their face. And about a month ago, I thought, I want to put a smile on my clients. I've been doing a lot of virtual events, Nadine. I've been doing short videos, inspirational videos to enthuse and uplift the team and engage with them, which has been great. But I wanted to do something different. We are living in a topsy-turvy world. Everything is upside down. So I thought, right, I'm going to put a smile on every client's face right now. So what I did, do not adjust your screen. I brought Christmas forward. I thought, stuff it. You're not going to wait till December. Let's do it in the last week of June. So I've just sent, this is Merry Christmas, by the way. So as you can see, it's an ice cream. It's an ice cream, but in the shape of Santa Claus. And I put a little message inside that says, this year, everything is turned upside down. It's not easy to keep track of the day, the month, or the season. With this in mind, I'm bringing Christmas forward. That's left blank, and I leave it blank because I put a handwritten personalized note. But to my clients, it also arrived in a huge box of chocolate treats. It has gone wild. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, emails, I've had videos, I've had phone calls, and you can hear the smile of somebody's face. It's been wonderful to do. Celebrity service is the philosophy. Create something memorable with your CRM system and do something now. Change it. Put a smile on that client's face no matter what it looks like. But don't wait for something to happen in 6 months' time. Now is the time. Clients and customers need you. Be the brand, be the organization that stands out more than anybody else. There we go.
Thank you, Geoff. Oh, I loved you showing the cushions. I mean, obviously, you weren't offended by the fact they had Chewbacca for you and everybody else had the other characters. Star Wars. You don't look anything like Chewbacca.
Well, I'm not too sure about that. But Haley was Yoda. I mean,
I think that's so sweet. I would have gone for Lamborghini personally. I know. I like the way it's that humility.
I made a really bad mistake many years ago. I said what I love is red £50 notes. I made such a mistake.
Yes, indeed. I'm David Bowie fan, so anything that's worth over £1 million, David Bowie, feel free to send my way. There are other plenty good brands out there as well. Not too biased. I just love that, and also I like the fact that these ideas are so cost effective, because when you think about celebrity service, you think, oh gosh, that's going to cost. But I think you've proven you can do things effectively with a small amount. It goes a long way. I mean, the thing that struck me as well is that I love technology. I about it on my CNBC programs when we look at the Internet of Things, but actually it's that human touch. So how do we make sure, Geoff, that we balance technology with that human touch. So that CRM system is not just a piece of technology, it's got that human side to it.
Well, we need to, a bit was saying about, you know, keep coming back and keep monitoring and keep going back and keep looking at the team and look what they're doing. We need to do this. It's not just an exercise where Nadine loves David Bowie and it's in dust, you know, for years. We have to use it. So when we're going to email you or when we're going to have an appointment with you, you know, let's see if we can do something. And even if it pays off, and we don't always have to buy, exactly what you said, and I want to come back to that. But even if you've got a meeting with Speaker's Corner and you come in to the meeting and they have music in the office just playing a couple of Bowie tracks really low. Now, they don't have to say to you, oh, something for you, listen to this. A little bit strange, right? Because you're like, oh, are they going to lock the door? I feel a bit, oh. But just very subtle, straight away you're smiling. Internally you're smiling. Just on the thing what you said there about you know, a cost. Oh, I hear this all the time. And I say to finance directors, I say to anybody with the purse strings, what would happen to your bottom line if every member of staff, internally, externally, delivered celebrity service to every single one of your clients? And they said, I don't think we could cope. I don't think we could cope. So many of the ideas I talk about in the book, on my videos, on my YouTube channel, in live sessions, so many ideas cost nothing, mean the world.
Yep, you're right. Priceless. Priceless. Geoff, we're going to have to leave it there because I know you're coming back later on as a double act. More about that later for the perfect day. Geoff, love it. Love the Star Wars fanatic. I'd expect speakers to put on a David Bowie tribute band for me, actually. Hint, hint.
We need to champion this. We'll have a hashtag, bring back Bowie tribute act for Nadine. That's quite a long hashtag.
It is, isn't it? Lovely.
I'll see you later on.
Yeah.
But if anybody, just contact Speaker's Corner, contact the team, and I can't wait to inspire you all. Take care, Nadine. Thank you.
And I've actually got Geoff's friend coming up now. Yes, Nigel Risner, who is going to be involved with us later on as well as part of that double act. And like I say, we're looking at the rule of two. Communication is the most important lesson to learn. He's our chief zoo keeper. So I'm expecting, I think, some animalistic noises from Nigel. Nigel, are you there? Are you standing by? Hello, lovely.
How are you?
To you. I'm not going to do the full version.
Oh, no, I want the whole song. I want the whole song.
The whole song. Oh gosh, no. We'll have people turning off in their droves, darling. Happy birthday, birthday boy.
Thank you very much indeed.
You're looking younger every year.
That's very kind of you.
Now, apparently you're going to be talking about the understanding of the personality of a person that you're speaking to. If you understand it, then you can negotiate and create relationships that last for a lifetime. I love your title, by the way, Chief Zookeeper. So I'm expecting loads of animalistic noises and sounds. I know you're appearing later on in the show as well, but this is your own little solo slot. And because you asked nicely, because you're the birthday boy, I'm going to be your audience, representing the hundreds and thousands that you usually speak in front of. So Nigel, your 15 minutes starts now. Good luck.
Thank you so much indeed. And I am so pleased to be part of today. But more importantly, for me, there's two parts to communication. There's internal communication and external communication. So Nadine, how often do you think, and do you ever speak to yourself, Nadine? Do you ever talk to yourself?
All the time. You're going to have to say that again.
What's really interesting, I know, what was really interesting is that I saw your mind go, I wonder if I talk to myself, which is exactly what I mean. So we have two aspects to communication. We talk to ourselves and we talk externally. And you're a communicator, you're a commentator, you're a BBC reporter. And a lot of the time you'll be talking piece to camera. The problem is that's not how most of us communicate. Most of us communicate one-on-one in small groups. And I've done conferences from 5 to 5,000 people, literally all over the world. And what I have to decide really quickly is who is in my audience? Who am I talking to? Because you see, there are many different styles of communication. And I don't know when you communicate if you're aware of who your audience is, whether you're doing technology, whether you're doing piece to camera, who you're talking about or talking to. So I'm going to share the Zookeeper principles for communication. Now, I'm sure you may have done things like Myers-Briggs, Belbin, DISC, and all that stuff. Would that be fair? Have you done things like that? One of the problems when you do assessment tools like that is very often, and I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself in a second, Nadine, because I want to interact with you on this, okay? Very often when you do a communication program, are you aware that most people only find out who they are?
Yeah,
you're still on mute. Oh, no, you're not now. Okay, brilliant. The problem is, knowing who you are isn't the problem. I need to know who my audience is. So I came up with a concept a long time ago. So I was doing a presentation at Whipsnade Zoo. And as I was talking, I had a real issue. So I was talking to a junior Chamber of Commerce audience. And I have a major issue that a lot of times that I'm talking, I lose focus. So I have a phrase that says, if you're in the room, be in the room. So right now, the only person who matters in the whole wide world to me, Nadine, is you. You are my favorite person in the whole wide world, and I love you more than my children. Now, I share that because they're not here, but you know who is here is you. And when you communicate, what you've got to do is really focus on the person you're with. So I've got this audience of about 300 people at the zoo, and in the corner of my eye, I can see a man with a brown jacket on, with a long trestle table on wheels with loads of different buckets. And on the buckets were labeled monkeys, giraffe, lions, etc. And all of a sudden I had one of those moments, which is one of those aha moments, which is this guy is giving certain food to certain animals to make sure they get fed the right food. And I then thought, and I had this brainwave, that if we knew who the people we were talking to and we could communicate in their language, what would the response be? And I already know that you're probably, get ready for this, a monkey with some lion tendencies, okay? I already know that. I'm married, by the way, to a massive, massive elephant. I mean, she's a size 10, but she's a massive, massive elephant. Geoff, who's my perfect partner, who we're going to be speaking to later, has a different trait. His wife, Hayley, who we spoke about, has a different animal trait. If people are in the world and you can quickly figure out their style, life is very easy. The problem is, because sometimes we're not feeling great about ourselves, we talk in our own language. So I am a massive, 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 get ready for this, monkey. And I've been a monkey all my life. And I have loads of different ways of communicating. And exactly what you've just done is laugh. But as a monkey, I don't do technology. And thank God we've got a whole team at Speaker's Corner who are probably speaking to you, speaking to me to make sure I'm near the camera, I'm not near the camera. And they probably sent me 18,000 links because I don't do detail. Now, it's a major problem if you don't do detail, because to do this Zoom presentation, a Microsoft team, and have 18 speakers, and then we've got a timing, you've got to be exact. Monkeys are playful, we're energetic, we're extrovert, we're lively, we're persuasive. We don't do detail. And we can only be focused at 20 minutes. Now, for you, Nadine, you're on this show for 240 minutes. There is not a chance I could do your job. I could speak for 240 minutes, but I couldn't interact and keep time because monkeys have no clue. And I'd be leaving the room, I'd need a Diet Coke, I'd need some chocolate, I'd need a wee, and that's what monkeys are like. Now, if you have them in your team and you have a meeting that lasts longer than about 20 minutes, you will see them shuffling on their phones, on Instagram, on Facebook, and this might be a serious board meeting. Now, you will have done enough press conferences where we are waiting for the speaker, or even in the middle of the speech, people start going on their phones, which is the height of disrespect. Monkeys can only be focused for about 20 minutes. So you're probably enjoying only having 20-minute moments and you get a bit of chance to interact. But then you've got the lions. Now, you'll know about lions because they are the people who think they're running the company and it's their way or the highway. And they are what I call single-minded, visionary, purposeful, and they have issues because they want to change the world. and they don't want to see change happen in any other way, and they don't want to listen to anyone else. It's their way or the highway. You're too young to remember someone like Margaret Thatcher, but Margaret Thatcher as a Prime Minister, it was her way or no way. That's just the way it was.
I did the Eurotunnel launch with Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, did you?
Yes,
Okay.
it's makeup and lights.
Okay. But you know that when she launched it, it was her idea. It had nothing to do with the French, and we built it ourselves. Now, here's a joke, and I often share this on stage, that if monkeys had been involved in building the tunnel, we probably wouldn't have met halfway, because monkeys think 87% is close enough. So monkeys can't get involved in structural engineering, in anything precise in building. We don't do that. We're great at communication, sales, marketing, but where there's a precise job, monkeys aren't involved. The lions are going to direct the way the bridge is going to get built or the tunnel. The problem with lions, and I'm going to try and be very clear on my language, is that lions will often come into a meeting, they'll fly around like a seagull, dump a load, and then fly out again. They don't have time to clear up their mess. So you will have lions in your world. Sometimes we'll be organising a press conference, and they'll say, you've got 4 minutes, Nadine, to ask a question, and that's it. And exactly at 3 minutes 59, they'll shut you down because they don't care about empathy and compassion. And it's a problem in leadership because a lot of lions are running companies and forget there's a human side to it. I often share with lions, when was the last time you gave your staff a good listening to more than a good talking to? Then we've got 2 more animals just to finish the pack off. Then we have the elephants. Now, this is a cool hat. You're going to like this hat. Now, as a monkey, because I know you are, you're probably thinking, where did he get the hat from? Okay. So let me share about the elephants, because elephants have a major problem in the world. Elephants are cautious, meticulous, precise, deliberate, skeptical. They're the ones who built the tunnel, which was an exact thing. It had to make sure it was exact. The problem in communication is it doesn't matter how much information you give elephants, it's never enough. Doesn't matter how many information we've given the elephants for this webinar, they're going to hope there's worksheets to go with it. They're going to be asking the questions. The only people who are going to ask Q&A are the elephants, because it doesn't matter how much information we give them. I'd just like a bit more clarification on the length of the trunk. They'll be asking questions like that. But we've got one other set of animals, and they're the dolphins. And they're normally HR. They're the caring, nurturing, supportive people. And this is a lovely hat. You're going to like this hat. It's a lovely, lovely hat. And dolphins always, when they communicate, always tilt their shoulders to the left. And they want to make sure the world's a nicer place. And I like the picture behind you. I like the globes. It shows the world. And we've got your public speaking book behind you. And it's lovely. They're all neatly done. And the dolphins want all the world to come together and love each other. And this pandemic has caused major problems for the dolphins because we're not able to reach out to our families. The elephants have loved this pandemic, by the way, because they didn't like people to start with. The monkeys have broken all the rules, and the lions, it's okay because people will be on Zoom and I can mute them whenever they want. The real issue in communication, and this is the second rule of communication, is it doesn't matter what our job from today is to become, and this is a very special hat, and we give that to very few people, is to become the effective zookeeper. Now, I want you to imagine that everyone you met actually knew the people they were dealing with. Now, Geoff just spoke before that when he got to the hotel, there were gifts that he liked. In theory, that hotel manager was a zookeeper. He knew what Geoff loved. So I just received a box of chocolates, a big bag. But on the back was a monkey. Now, how cool is that? But it goes much bigger than that. It's my birthday today. I have thousands of birthday cards, but my favorite drink in the whole wide world is Diet Coke. And one of my clients sent me Diet Coke socks. Now, it doesn't mean a lot to anyone else, but if you're a zookeeper and you know the style of the people you're talking to, what it means is you can communicate in their language, not yours. So I know you're a bit of a monkey, but you've got quite a tight schedule and you're very experienced in presenting. So we can have a bit of banter, but I know there's a limit on how far I can push you. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. I can, the ejector button is ready.
Yes, but you see, I know that, so I can share certain things and have fun with you, but I know there's only so far I can push you. but I know you're not an elephant, okay?
I think I'm a mixture of all of them. Is that possible?
No, because you see, what happens is when you're under pressure, you will revert to home territory. So I wrote a book called It's a Zoo around here. And when I wrote the book, I had to make sure the book was in all 4 languages. So for the monkeys, lots of colour paper. For the lions, not many words on each page, but they were just very important words. But for the elephants, obviously, we did a graph for them.
You did 3 books.
Yeah. And for the dolphins, we printed it on recycled paper.
Very good.
But here's the point. When you understand how important communication is in the workplace, the effects are dramatic. So we've done lots of research that if you're spoken to in the right way, you have 74% less stress. You have 106% more energy at work. You have 50% higher productivity, but get ready for the big one. 13% fewer sick days if you feel communicated in the right language. Now, similar to what Geoff and Reg were saying, if you focus on one thing and you do the things your staff love or your customers love, how do you think people feel? So you probably can see just by me a pillow that I received. We're big into pillows. Now, I'm big into Cadbury's chocolate.
There are other chocolate confectioners out there as well.
Oh no, but I got a Galaxy chocolate bouquet of flowers. All of my clients understand what's important. It doesn't cost a lot to communicate well, but what you've got to do is to become the zookeeper. Now, have I got about 4 more minutes more? I don't know roughly my timing today.
Yes, I'll give you 4 more minutes.
Okay, you see, as a monkey, I've got no idea. If I was an elephant, I'd know exactly how many minutes, and as a lion, I'd want 10. Okay.
Well, you are coming back on the end of the day, so we are.
Yes, I know. I love that. I love it. You're getting all very caring about me. That's very kind of you. But you see,
I'm trying to
you want
say
to
that I'm a dolphin
communicate
now.
well. Yeah, you went very. You tilted your head when you said that. If you want to communicate really well, you've got to give your staff a good listening to more than a good talking to. And you've got to give your staff a piece of your heart more than a piece of your mind. And this stuff is free. It's about listening. I'll give you one other quick example. Have you ever been speaking to a friend of yours and you're holding your phone?
Yes.
What you're actually saying to your friend is, you're important, but not that important. And then have you ever had this moment where your phone rings, you open it, and then you go, no, it doesn't matter? Have you ever done that?
Probably more than 100 times in my life.
So what you're actually saying to this other person is, you're very lucky that this person isn't that important, because if they were, I would take the call. So you're only semi-important. And in communication, what you've just done is affected their self-esteem. And remember, I started by saying how we communicate externally is about how we communicate internally. So now I feel not loved, and then I go and revert into my dominant monkey style. So now I'm going to be a bit cheeky. I'm going to be a bit nasty. And I don't want to go too far on this, but monkeys can turn into hyenas very quickly. And so when I lose it, I get that laughter of mine is not nice. Lions can turn into tigers and eat their own. Dolphins, which were sweet and innocent, turn into sharks, and they can smell BS from 2.5 miles. A shark can smell blood in the ocean from 2.5 miles away. And you'll love this, because the elephants, which are cautious and precise, when they lose it, they go very quiet, they go solitary, and they charge you like a rhino. And your job as a zookeeper, as a presenter, as a parent, as a Cub Scout leader, is to know your people by listening to the way they communicate. And when you listen to the way they communicate, they'll tell you which animal they are. You don't need to fill in a 25-page report. You just need to listen carefully, put your zookeeper hat on, and feed the animals the food they want, not the food that you want. And there you go, on time.
Lovely. I mean, we're never going to get this time again, are we? Let's hopefully anyway not have another pandemic like this. So how can we use the time effectively when, you know, you're talking to companies and you've got teams working either remotely at home or they are, you know, socially distancing in their office, to make sure that we can still communicate according to your, you know, your zookeeper theories and practices that you've observed over the years?
Amazing question. So when I do a Zoom call and I'm in someone's home, so I presume I'm in your home somewhere, and I realize it's your home. If your cat walks by you, That's okay, because that's called human. You know, I'm not going to get uptight about it. I'm not going to ask, what's your cat's name? I'm going to interact with you, and I will know by the answer the way you give me about your cat's name, whether you're a lion, monkey, dolphin, or elephant. And the better you are listening, the easier it is. But the first question I ever ask people is, how's it going? What's going on for you? Not, are there issues? And I listen a lot better. The word listen, do you know how to spell listen, by the way?
Listen.
So you've got to listen 10 times the amount that you speak. But we used to say 2 ears and 1 mouth. If that was the case, the word would be list 2, but it's list 10. The greatest zookeepers are the greatest leaders, are the greatest listeners. Sometimes when I work with a council or I'm working with a large organization, there are 2 or 3 deaf people in the audience, and they will be watching me speak, and they will remember every word I've said, because they have to be in the room, watch very carefully. Deaf people listen unbelievably well. People like you and I don't listen well because we leave the room because we don't think we need to concentrate. Greatest leaders are the greatest zookeepers. That's all I can share.
Indeed. And of course, you're going to be back later again. I'm just going to check, actually. We've got a Q&A here. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Hopefully they won't steam up with all this excitement. Let's have a look. Okay, so how do we avoid boxing people once we know what animal they are? Lovely question from South Africa, from Johannesburg. Thank you very much to Daniel for that one.
Okay, so for Daniel, goeiemiddag or gaan dit baie goed. So that was just good afternoon, how are you in Afrikaans. The first thing you do is you just recognize their style. So I know I'm a monkey, which means people, when they talk to me, know short interaction, give me a bar of chocolate, don't go too much into detail. So you don't have to treat them like they're idiots. You just have to understand some of their personal needs. That's all.
Yeah. I'd imagine to begin with, you just put the animal ahead so you remind. You might even know instinctively, as you say, once you understand those traits. We're just going to end it here. Thanks, Nigel, from Sue Porto. I don't know where she is in the world, but she's somewhere.
She's in Bath. I know her very well.
Was it? For your amazing insights, as always, and a very happy birthday to you. Now, we're even doing birthday messages to you. What more could you possibly want?
See, as a monkey, they all know that's what matters to me. That's why this event is today. It could have been any other day. I organised the day, and it was my birthday, and I'm having it on my birthday.
Are you sure you're not a lion, really?
No, I'm a monkey. I wanted all the adulation, because that's what monkeys need. And one last thought, if you work with monkeys, I need all this adulation again tomorrow. That's the tiring part about leading monkeys. We need lots of grooming. We need lots of acknowledgement. Lions just need an advert in the Sunday Times, front page.
Right. Well, your task is to eat all that chocolate between now and when you're next back on. With your
Trust me, I could do that. But thank you so much, Nadine, for looking after us, and thank you for staying on.
Yeah, lovely. Take care. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Take care. Well, there you go. Keep your questions coming in. That's fantastic that you're taking part in this. And remember the hashtag as displayed by the light box in the background, hashtag 240minute. Feel free to post your photographs and comments. What's really struck a chord with you? What has given you some inspiration so far? We've got plenty more speakers for your delight and delectation over the next probably just under 3 hours now and counting. Stay with me if you can. I completely understand though if you need to pop in or out, and we'd love to see your photos. Remember to tweet them using that hashtag, so hashtag 240minutes, and using the handle speakers_corner. And I know the guys in the office, in particular Nick and Dan, are there to chat with you today if you'd like any more information about the speakers. So next up, I'm delighted to say we're going to go to, and we're going to be joining Martin Limbeck, and his presentation is NO, or no is short, not for no, but for next opportunity. How do top sales professionals think? And Martin supports companies worldwide in building and restructuring their sales organization. He is the top sales trainer, a world-renowned keynote speaker. Wow, what a lineup we have for you today, who's been honored with numerous awards. And Martin, are you there? We're so honored to have you with us today as part of this showcase. How are you doing, Martin?
You hear me?
Lovely to see you. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Yeah, that's the extent of the German. I was just showing off then, I think. And we are doing this in English. You're looking delightful there. How are things with you in Germany?
Yeah, we're doing good. Like everybody, we have a different time, and like the title of my presentation is No Short for Next Opportunity. It is like it is, and so we try to do the best out of it. And since I'm a sales guy, we're on the phone calling clients and try to sell them something, or just give them a good ear so that they see that we present, that we are there, and when it starts again, that they know we are not, we're under the table. We showed up and gave them a good feeling, at least.
Indeed. So you've kept at it. It's lovely to have your company. And obviously, please post your questions in for Martin.
So what do I find out? We have 4 critical factors of success. And I would like to talk a little bit with you about these 4 critical factors. What is this? In my opinion, we need people, and we need people with the right attitude. Attitude is the first thing what we really need. And the second thing, we need the right strategy or method when we operating in the market. And I needed call your brand. So what is your brand? What you stand for? There are a lot of companies that have a brand. I think you as a sales lion, as a sales ape, as a sales guy or woman, you can make yourself as a brand to your customers too. And of course, you need at the end sales skills. And so I would like to offer you a couple ideas, what I think in these critical factors, it's important for you. The first thing is all about your attitude. Do me a little favor, go to the alphabet and put down on which number stands each word. The A is very easy, it's on 1. Find out the T. I give you a little bit time. The T is on 20. I is easy, is on 9. And I found out who can do the T will always do the U2. It's on 21. Then we have a D and an E. And if you count everything together, then you're 100%. Then you are there with 100%. See, what I found out, the most people are afraid of cold calling. People are afraid to call customers because they could say no. And that was the idea of no is short for next opportunity. See, what I found out, the most people, and I worked in 30 countries in sales, they always have in their mind they could lose something and they are not on the side to win something. So if I don't lower the price, then I will lose a customer. If I don't give the customer something extra, I have to lose the price. And Geoff just said it with his great presentation service. I believe very much in it depends how you handle your customer, what you do on extra miles for your customers, and it starts all with the right attitude. When I go back to the 4 critical success factors, see, if you're good in handling objections, if you're good in your sales skills, but you don't have the right attitude because you are not, in the mood, or you are have the idea you could catch the no and you're afraid about the no, you probably will never be successful. The same thing, you can have great strategies, you can have great methods in sales, but if you don't trust in yourself to use them, and for an example, when you're handling objection, a customer says you're too expensive, to say, yes, I know, I always hear that. You need the right attitude for that. So it starts always with handling the no and see it as a gift. Like Brian Tracy, one of the greatest trainers I have worked with and with, he always has a very good phrase. If there comes a problem from a customer on the table, see it as a present. He believes very much in God, and he said, this is a present from God, and how big the problem is, God knows you can handle it. See, and this is one thing about, in my opinion, believing is seeing. Believing is seeing. So what do you see in yourself? And our brain cannot distinguish what is real or what you are thinking. As a result, what we think will be our reality. All right? We only know since now 150 years that we have an unconsciously. We believe very much that is bigger than what we really see or what we can face with the customer. So, and for that it's very important that you're always in the mood and in the attitude and in your thinking expect and handle for the best, and you become the best. See, when you have a good foundation that you know that a no is normal and not something critical, then it's very easy. What do you need for that? As an example, I will share 3 mantras from my side to you guys out there around the world. You heard about that. That is discipline. You need good discipline. He just passed away, but I was very lucky. 2010, I attended the first time where I met a lot of this nice gentlemen here and the ladies, the NSA, the National Speakers Association, so the good ones. And there I met Joachim de Posada. And Joachim de Posada, he was the guy, he gave the speech about the marshmallow. And he had this marshmallow example. Maybe you guys know that, what happened. They did studies with young kids, like 6 years old. They put them in a room, they put a marshmallow on the table, and then they said, if you can wait 5 minutes, you get the second one. You can Google that by YouTube. You really can see a couple of young kids there. One is leaking at the marshmallow, put it away. Then you see 2 brothers, right, twins. They put the head on the table and could wait. Then you see a really funny girl. She tried to get the inside out from the marshmallow. And the study was very interesting about this discipline stuff. What came out after 20, 25 years, today we are better in databases. Now we know that data is the new gold. But years ago, we didn't have that with the point of discipline. And what they found out was very easy. They did this study around with 1,500 kids, but they don't found everywhere later when there was 26, 27 again in the world, but they found around 600. And Joachim told me one day that he tried to restudy this again in Puerto Rico with a new university, but then he couldn't make it anymore. And they found out that the kids who really could wait for 15 minutes usually had better, and that's what I liked about it, better relationships with others. They had a better income. They were better educated. And the most thing, what I liked, they had better, friendships and relationships with other people. I think that was a very interesting point. So how disciplined you are in sales. An example, see, people ask me over the years how it comes that other trainers, speakers in the market, in sales, you have more revenue, you have more clients. See, here's one tip. I call it $1 million tip. I do every day 3 cold calling with new clients and 3 cold callings with, I call it cuddle calls, where I cuddle my customers on the phone. And we get good stuff from Geoff about that too. So what are you doing on extra miles for your customers? So if we are realistic in Germany, we say we have 200 working days. You have holidays, you are in meetings, you're in fairs. Then you make, very easy to count, 1,200 callings more than others. See, my wife, she runs with me the company with 25 people in Germany. And we just said in this special time we have, I can't hear the word anymore, we have the feeling we work even more than before, and we worked before a lot already, but because we called a lot of customers, we showed up, we said, hey, what is going on with you? And of course, everybody had the same situation right now. How does it go further? What will happen with the economy? How will it work worldwide? Especially Germany is an export country. So, but the customers, they were happy that, wow, they called me. What is about you? Because I had a lot of customers who said, what we do now with the trainings. Of course, some said we wait until it's over, and others said, all right, let's do it online like we do it here. And I believe nothing afterwards will be like before. And then again, we have no short for next opportunity, because people now make their first meeting maybe before they fly to somebody or drive to somebody on the remote seller. So I found right away a new word, certified remote seller, make the program for that. I'm running that today too as an open seminar. So be creative, be disciplined, and work on your company and not only in your company. You know that the most entrepreneurs, like Nigel just said, the lions, they work always and, try to fix something. But it's very important that you have the discipline to take yourself out company. I do that once a week. Fridays, I'm not working. Well, not means that I'm on holiday, but Fridays I have no meetings, I have no phone calls, I have no live sessions, I have a day for me. And then I can go out and read a book, do an online course, or I go to my team and do with them cold calling together. We call it a telephone party. We making calls together. I give them feedback, they give me feedback. You know, I work on the company, not in the company. For that, you really need the discipline, because you always can work, all right? So the next thing is, what is very important, what I believe in, and it's always hard when I talk in training about that point, is objects of value. Stand behind the price and payment. A lot of salespersons around the world tell me always, I have to give a discount so the customer feels good. And I say the opposite. See, my point is, if everybody is running in this direction, think you about that, why you should run in the different direction. Because there's only one point. The market is running over you, or you run the market. And I like the other phrase, that I make the standards in the market. So stay behind your price. When you call for your price, stay with it. Even if we have to do with buying centers, some people look at me and asking what kind of drugs that guy takes in Germany. See, mostly my clients are the sales officer, the CEO, the CSO, the owner, you know, the sales VIP. And then I ask them, when they ask for an order, do you having a buying center? Sure. So how can we agree that they don't call me? Now, some of them laughed and said, but they have to, because it's our rule. I said, okay, so how do I have to prepare the offer that your buying center says yes? And some clients say, all right, put in there 5% or give us something extra. They have to negotiate something. That's the rule of the company. They need 3 offers and all that stuff. You know all about that. So stay with that. Then Jeffrey said that. I love that, so I make it here very, very short. One of my second mantra is diligence. What are you doing on extra miles for your customer? What do, without asking them, how can you surprise them? For an example, I call it shovel first, collect second. I learned that in English in school when I was in America. So establish unique customer relationships and call them for the birthday. Here, one great tip. Today you make a contract with a customer, put it in your database 1 year later. In 1 year you call him at the same day, and then you say, hey, today we have a special day. And the customer will say, what is it? Today we have the 1st anniversary. And he will laugh, because he never gets a call like this. So think about unique customer relationships. Organize events with prospects and customers. Invite them, especially when it's going on again. Do it now online. So give him now value and good time outside. One thing very important, I see that always LinkedIn is one of the most important platforms for me in social media. Engage with your customer. When your big customers post something, like it, make a comment. So show your customer that you see them online also. A lot of people don't do that. They don't even have a good social selling profile. You can watch mine if you like on LinkedIn. Maybe you send me an invitation. We studied over 2 years and spent a lot of money in how can I make cold calling in social media. I use my acquisition tools in social selling. And when I do cold calling 10 CEOs, I get 8 requests. With 4 I talk, and with 2 I do probably business, because I know how to build trust in social. And one thing is engage with them. And Geoff already said that reciprocity, debt of gratitude. You see his candy box. We do a lot of those things too. In all my offers, I put a book in there. After a seminar, I send something as thank you to the customer for his trust. So do something, because you know the law of reciprocity. If you do somebody something good, I do somebody good. That's the idea of the shovel first, collect second. I learned that in America. My friend Rich in high school said, because in the summer I was, cutting grass, and he said, how you make money in the winter time? And I said, I don't know. He said, I will introduce you in the snow shoveling business. So we went to Walmart. I bought a snow shovel, and then, like a German is, very polite, I would ring the bell and would ask if I I'm allowed to shovel the snow. And he said, no, that's not how it works in America. I do it different. I said, oh, I'm interested how I do it different. And he said, very interesting, right? Shovel first, collect second. First do the job and then do that. And that was, Geoff already said, invest in your customers. That's very important. For an example, we have here a teddy bear is with our logo on there. If my clients, for an example, I hear that they have born a baby, we send that teddy, but we send it right to the baby and write, hey, for an example, Nigel has birthday today. Hey, Nigel, great that you are born. Besides your parents, here is your first buddy, your teddy. And we really get mails when people say, or even pictures like that is from a friend of mine, a colleague where I did that. And he said, my son is laying to your teddy. So no is short for next opportunity. The third mantra, what you need is goals. Don't do any acquisition. Don't do anything every day without a goal. Ask you every day what you want to achieve today. When you call somebody, that means not that you always have to sell something, but if you call somebody, ask yourself, what will be at the end of the call from outcome from this call? Was it a cuddle call? You want to really show interest in how your customer feels right now? What is it what your customer maybe needs in the moment that she feels good? So do something what brings them up. And everybody of you guys know what our goals are, right? Concrete, you have a time measure. And if you say, for an example, I will do every day 6 calls, then you can measure, did I do every day 6 calls? So very important is master your sales pitch. That's the same thing when I ask people, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm a salesman. All right, which industry? Yeah, I sell kitchen. That's not a sales pitch. What kind of kitchen you sell? What is the special thing about you? Guys, you know that about the elevator pitch. So master your sales pitch. Stand by your price. For that, you need no short for next opportunity, because when you're not afraid to lose the job, then you can stand with your price and learn to handle objections. Here, one of the best answers for the objection, the customer says, your competitors are cheaper. They have to. And then shut up and wait. They have to. For an example, that's the shortest handling objection thing. See, I did with a lot of people in the last few weeks, a lot of online seminars, and anytime by cold calling, by negotiation, when it comes to objections, and they are normal, don't be afraid about objections, they are afraid to lose the customer. So that's the idea of no is short for next opportunity again. Don't think about losing, think about winning. So I think it's very important what you see in yourself. So what you see in yourself. And I love Nigel for that. Do you see in yourself this, or do you see this? Do you, when you in the morning get up, some people only get up because they have to go to the toilet. But if you go up and look at that mirror, then see a lion who really loves to hunt now and go out and get the customer. Thank you very much for having me today from Germany here. I'm very proud with such a nice colleagues to run this here. And thank you for the good moderation. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Martin. Lovely to have you here. Now, I know obviously when you're working with clients, when you've spoken at conferences, you delve so much deeper than that, don't you? That you go out of your way to understand the organisation and actually set realistic goals, because when it comes to selling, it's such a hit and miss set of practices, isn't it? But you're determined that you can help any client according to their circumstances because you set them realistic goals. Is that fair to say?
It's very important that you think. What I learned in America from my friends around the world is making your big pictures, because how bigger the picture is, that easier you can follow the goal. But of course, if I start my business right now and I say at the beginning, for example, I'm a new speaker and I want a very higher fee, like the top 10 in the market, that's probably not realistic. But if you say, all right, I want to be a little bit already over the average what the market gives because I prepare good, I have good content, then it's fine. And then you can move up. So like we always say, you know that phrase, there is no elevator to success, there are the steps. So do it step by step. But see at the end the big picture. Maybe in 5 years, I'm the most famous speaker like Nigel about the zoo.
Indeed. And Martin, something you mentioned was about the social media side, in particular LinkedIn, because I know it really irritates people when they get a connection from somebody and then the next message they get is someone coming in with a hard sell, and then it kind of diminishes that trust. So how can you use like tools like LinkedIn and other social media tools?
See, there are a lot of people out there. There's a tip. Don't tell anybody you got that from me. The app is called Lusha, L-U-S-H, Lusha, N-N-A, Lusha. You can Google it. You can connect that with LinkedIn. And if I go on your profile and you left somewhere in the internet your phone number, I get it. Out of 10 profiles, I get out 7 numbers. So see, what's very important, there are agents out there. They make acquisition to me too and make me offer that they do it automatically. I believe if you want to pitch CEOs, CSOs, high-level people, you have to do it by hand. You have to build trust. For an example, if I see somebody is in the Harvard Business Group, for an example, and he's a CEO, or maybe he posts something about his company, then I write him, hey, very interesting article you wrote about your company, and I saw we are both together in Harvard Business Review. Did you see the last post? I found that very interesting. What is your opinion? So find something what you can hook on with him, and then sometimes before I call him for a call to sell something, it can be 6 months, 9 months, a year.
Martin, thank you very much. I think that's wise words there. So lovely to have you. Give our love to Germany. There you go. Some honest, straightforward advice there. Well, next up, we're going to Australia. How exciting is this? Now, the reason I didn't say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, just a straightforward hello, is that you never know what time of the world in the world the next person's going to be, but I know it's getting late there, so it could be Betty Bo's time for our next speaker soon, Steve Simpson. I can't believe I said the word Betty Bo's. And we're talking about want to survive, then thrive, how to focus on your UGRs, your unwritten ground rules, with one of the top speakers in Australia, Steve Simpson.
Thanks very much, Nadine. It's great to be with you all, and it's a real treat, and I'd really like to thank Speakers Corner, the great people at Speakers Corner, for helping facilitate this brilliant event, which I'm really excited to be part of. And I've learned heaps already. Look, I'd like to begin by asking you to reflect, to think back to a time when you were a new employee, and it could have been to a senior position, but you were a new employee to a new organisation. So it could have been senior, maybe not so, but I'd like you to reflect back to that time. Because if you are like most people on this planet, when you were a new person, a new employee, can be senior, there's a fair chance you were quieter than what you otherwise would have been. Why is that so? Well, you weren't consciously aware of this, but you were checking out the UGRs in the team and the company. Unconsciously, you were checking out the UGRs. UGRs, as Nadine has said, stands for Unwritten Ground Rules, which I define as people's perceptions of this is the way we do things around here. So what were you looking for or looking at? And remember, this is normally happening unconsciously, by the way, not confined to work. Any group of people we're confronted with, if we are new to that group, it can be in a social context, in a sporting team, whatever, we will normally be quieter because unconsciously we're tuning into the UGR. So what sorts of things do we mostly unconsciously tune into? Well, we tune into stuff like punctuality. Do people arrive at when they're supposed to arrive? Do they arrive at the death knock, or do they arrive well and truly before the official start time? What about the end of the day? Do people sprint once it's time to leave? Or again, do people stay there for an extended period beyond the official finish time? What about meetings? Does the meeting start at 10 o'clock, or do people saunter in at 10:15? You'll be subtly looking at these things. You'll be looking at stuff like information flow. Do people freely and openly share information, or do they play their cards a little close to their chest? Worse, do they play a game? You have to ask me the right question before I give you the right answer. You look at how meetings run and whether people at a meeting contribute. Do people offer ideas at a meeting, or do they stay silent? Is a different point of view ever raised at a meeting? If it is, how's that greeted? You'll particularly look to see what is said immediately after the meeting, the corridor talk that happens after the meeting. So there's probably an infinite number of cues and clues that we mostly unconsciously tune into to form our view of this is the way we do things around here. And you know what? The remarkable thing, and this is truly remarkable, is that these UGRs drive our behaviour. We conform, the vast majority of us, conform to the prevailing UGRs. It's quite remarkable. Now, I want to give you some examples of UGRs that we've come across in the workplace. And they can include things like, at our meetings, it isn't worth complaining because we know nothing will get done. They can include, the only time anyone gets spoken to by the boss is when something is wrong. Another UGR we've come across is around here, and Geoff would be interested in this one after his fantastic presentation earlier on in this session. But we've come across this one on many occasions. Around here, the company talks about the importance of customer service, but we know they don't really mean it, so we don't really have to worry about it. These drive our behaviour, yet remarkably, they are seldom talked about openly. It is like there's a parallel universe out there. My behaviour, your behaviour is being driven by these UGRs, and yet we never put them on the table. They are never talked about openly. Now, UGRs are not always negative. Those ones I just shared with you were negative, but UGRs are not always negative. So right now, if you're in a positive, dynamic team, by definition, it follows there are positive UGRs. It has to be the case. If you're in an ordinary team right now, by definition, it follows there are ordinary UGRs. It has to be the case. We are human beings. Inevitably, we'll get a mix. We'll get some positive, some less than positive, and some in between. Maybe the biggest question I can put to you during my presentation, my 15 minutes, and Nadine, I'd really appreciate you. I meant to put on my timer to make sure I did stick to 15 minutes. So I'd really, in a few minutes, will get your help to make sure that I do stick to the 15 minutes only. But maybe the biggest question I can put to you is this. Are our current UGRs a function of luck or chance, or are they by design? Our experience is that in the vast majority of teams and organisations, the UGRs are left to luck and chance, and people wish for or hope for positive cultures. And if they don't have a positive culture, they wish it were different, hope it was different, but really don't do too much to change things. So this is an enormous opportunity, I think, for us to grab a hold of our culture throughout, because it is the UGRs that are our culture. It's a wonderful opportunity to fight for collectively the kinds of UGRs that are going to satisfy two criteria. One, what's going to make this a great place to work. Two, what's going to ensure our success into the future. So UGRs can be positive, they can be less than positive. Sometimes UGRs can be in your face. I don't know if you've ever experienced this as a new person, but have you ever been to a meeting where a new person says something at the meeting they shouldn't have? When I present face to face, I'll say to people, what happens in those contexts? And people tell me when a new person says something at a meeting that they shouldn't have, there's either stunned silence or people will be sitting next to each other and they'll elbow each other on the sly and say, give them time. We think that that's subtle, but do you think that that is not in the face of the new person? I mean, the new person sees that happen once and they know never to do that again. They will shut up from now on or not go into that territory that they've explored at the meeting. So that's an in-your-face example of a UGR. Another one, I was working with a major automotive company here in Australia. The sales and marketing division were meeting in Sydney. I wasn't even at this meeting, but the whole sales and marketing division were at this conference venue doing a day's planning. Now, the day prior, one of the younger guys on staff in sales and marketing had done something on social media that he shouldn't have. It was a bad mistake. On the day, in front of everyone, the boss of the sales and marketing division, in front of everyone, stands and points to the young guy and says, "Be careful, young man. Be careful, young man." I mean, it's remarkable. So what's the UGR when that happens? Well, again, when I say this, when I ask this face to face, people will often say the UGR is never make a mistake. My response is I disagree, because I think the UGR here is never get caught making a mistake. Now think about this. This is the sales and marketing division. They're supposed to be agile, creative, trying out new things. Good luck with that if that's the UGR. So UGRs can be in your face, and they can also be subtle, and I would argue no less powerful. Now, over the last 4 or so years, my great friend and business partner, Stef du Plessis, who's following me from Johannesburg, we've been working with McLaren Automotive in the UK. Now, for those of you who are in the UK right now, if you ever get the chance to go to Woking, premises of McLaren Automotive, I tell you, you ought to go there. It is the most remarkable premises I have ever seen. It is truly gobsmacking. I'm not a car buff, well, actually I am now, after having been to McLaren in Woking in Surrey. It is remarkable. When I was there last, I took 187 photos, which I'm going to show you now. So forget the 15 minutes, Nadine, we're going to go for 35 minutes. I'm going to try and share my screen right now, and wish me luck, because I hadn't tried this, but I'm going to give this a go. And it's telling me that I need to open up my system preferences and give Ring Central. Oh, I can't do it. So that's a shame there, Nadine, I can't do that. But let me explain to you that the premises at McLaren were purpose-built. There are white tiles in the production plant, no robots. 2 years ago, they were using a new compound in the tyres, which was leaving black marks on the white tiles. So while they attended to that problem, they employed 3 people whose full-time job was to get the black marks off the white tiles. When they had the premises built, they said, "We want glass walls in our paint shop." And they go, "But it's a paint shop, correct? We want our customers to be able to see their cars being painted, should they so wish. But it's a paint shop. Guess what? They've got glass walls on their paint shop. They designed it with a thin veil of air that's pumped down each of the walls so the paint can never hit the glass. It is remarkable. So the photo I was going to show you relates to this context, because there's very high security at McLaren. And when you get past security, it's probably a 700-yard drive before you get dropped off to the entrance to the building. This one morning, I've got a driver, and we get 50 yards past security, and I say to the guy, "Can you stop right now, please?" He's startled, but nonetheless stops, and I took the photograph. And the photograph is of this massive long hedge, and next to it is a guy who is the gardener, one of the gardeners. And I mean, this is gobsmacking, because he has got a tape measure. He's actually measuring the height of the hedge. I say to people, "What's the UGR here?" And people will rightly say, precision, attention to detail. And I will say, that is McLaren. There is such pride in the production plant with these wonderful products that they're able to produce. It is truly, you can feel the pride. And there's actually a tension in the business now, because in the time we've been working with them, they've actually had to double their shift because they have not been able to meet demand. They still can't meet demand. And so now there's a tension in the business, because the sales and marketing guys are saying, "Come on, get them out quicker." There's no robots dictating the speed at which these are built. So the guys on the floor say, "No, it's got to be right. It's got to be perfect." So that UGR of perfection and attention to detail has even infected the gardeners. When we showed the photograph to the senior exec team at McLaren, the CEO said, "Steve, can we have that photo?" He didn't even know about this. So what's my point? my point is that the UGRs constitute our culture. And to be able to achieve the kind of, for example, that Geoff was talking about, or if safety is an issue in your organisation, to be able to achieve those sorts of goals, the culture underpins all of that. And to understand our culture, we've got to understand our UGRs. And we've got to have our UGRs right in that respect. Now, Nadine, what is UGR? So somebody's asking, what am I saying? UGRs stands for unwritten ground rules, unwritten ground rules. Nadine, can you let me know how much time I've got left?
Yes, Steve, you've got about a minute or so. So if you start,
okay.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
These are extraordinary times, and it's our belief that there has never been a more important time than now to focus on the culture. I was speaking with a senior leader from a large franchise organisation in Australia very recently, and I rang him only to find out how he was. And he said, Steve, it's been a bloodbath. They are the words he used. It's been a bloodbath. They had to sack people, get people working from home. So we realised everyone is facing uncertainty, fear and stress right now. So there has never been a more important time to get our culture right. And we want to be focusing on things like transparency, agility, creativity and innovation, and support and care, probably being the most important one. Our UGRs need to coalesce around those 4 critical cultural elements to help us navigate through and beyond this crisis. Thanks, Nadine.
Thanks very much, Martin. First up, actually, someone is so impressed with your setup. They're saying, what camera are you using? I know you were expecting that question. I often get these kind of technical questions. Do you know the answer to that? Or is it just
well, it's a DSLR camera that I'm using. So thanks for the feedback. And
okay.
What you don't know is we had some glitches. I've got some technical glitches because I had some slides to show you. But anyway, we got through there. So
yeah, no, I'm saying you are looking high definition in all its glory. The teeth look gorgeous. I know you polished them especially for us. And I think what's really interesting what you're saying, there's unwritten ground rules. Someone wanted clarification on that. I mean, you've seen and done all the pitfalls, the traps, the objections and issues that emerge when people are challenged to probably rethink. They often say the way we do things around here. You've probably heard that phrase so many times. Has there ever been a challenge that you've thought, are we ever going to get them to understand that the unwritten ground rules are the ones that will really drive that culture, but you managed to succeed in the end?
Nadine, I am gobsmacked, and I've been doing this for a long time, more than 30 years. I am gobsmacked by how many unhappy people there are at work. It is so sad that there are so many unhappy people at work, and you know what? It shouldn't be that way, and people do not want it to be that way. So what we've discovered in using UGRs as the vehicle to help understand and improve cultures is that once you start talking real, and that's what UGRs is, once you start talking the real world, people will get on board and we can create immense excitement and turn people 180 degrees. We've seen it happen. Now, it will not happen every time. If the leaders are not serious about this, then you're probably doing more damage than you're probably best to leave UGRs out of it. But if the leaders are serious, we can bring people on board and create a genuine excitement, fighting for a culture that everyone has pride in, and most importantly, protects the great culture. They want to sustain that. It's like being a part of a great team. It seldom occurs, but it's brilliant when it happens.
Indeed. Now, a bit of love coming your way from Chris Harding, wherever he is in the world, or she. Spot on, Steve, thanks. Another question for you from Ashish is, what are some of the common UGRs that you've come across in family businesses? Oh, that's a niche in themselves.
See, Reg specialises in that arena, and so Reg would be an interesting one to speak to about that as well. But you see, there are the standard UGRs, and I have had some work with family companies. So there's an added layer of complexity because we've got the standard UGRs that happen in any collection of people, but then there are family-related UGRs. So family businesses have got to be very wary of the UGRs that are created specific to the family. And it relates to stuff like, do family members get special treatment, for example, or their sacred territory or stuff like that. So I think is massive benefit for family businesses to become more aware of this and try and avoid some of the traps that can bring with it, you know. So yeah, it's a good question.
Because if you get it right, the loyalty and everything that goes with it, but it doesn't necessarily mean just because it's a family business that it's going to be, you know, it's going to be gold. There are so many other factors to take into account, aren't there? Or we could carry on more, but we've got part 2, haven't we? So sending our love to Australia. We'll allow you to stay up for the next couple of hours to listen to the programme. Steve, lovely to have you on board, and give our best to Melbourne as well. I know you were going through another lockdown, so I hope that the city gets through all of that. So challenging times, but it's great that you're there, hopefully steering the ship as well. Steve, lovely to have you. Our next guest is Stef du Plessis, who Steve mentioned about earlier. And we're getting part 2 of this UGRs. So want to survive, then thrive. Get your people to own your own cause. Stef, lovely to have you on the show, broadcasting from South Africa. Now, I know you have an award named after you, and I've heard also someone introduce you as the grandfather of keynote speaking. So hopefully we're not being rude there. I just think it shows how experienced you are. Stef, lovely to have you here. And I think you want me to stay on board as part of your audience.
Thank you. Thanks for staying on board. Nigel, happy birthday. Speaker's Corner, thanks for organizing this. Daniel Risner, thank you for making all of this happen. Much appreciated. And all my mates you've been doing a great job. So here I am in a brand new studio on its 2nd day of being live, realizing that we have a small technical glitch, which we will fix. But, hey, technical glitch fixed. Let's get this happening.
And so, you know, you were here. You're looking the wrong way. You need to turn around. Brilliant.
We'll check. We're good. So Steve, my partner, my business partner of 20 years, has just shared with you our insights around unwritten ground rules, UGRs, the work we do with organizations, as you now know, some of the leading brands in the world, and companies in some 50 countries have now used UGRs to ramp up the way they do things, to drive their strategic objectives, to drive strategic execution, and to make this a better place to work. But we have another side to our work, and that is employee engagement. And what we do there is helping employees to put more skin in the game, helping employees to be willing to fight for defending the values of the organization, getting employees to be willing to do what's necessary to get the job done, rather than relying on excuses as to why they can't. And that extends to leadership and authentic leadership as we frame it. And that's what I'm going to be speaking about in my short spot this afternoon. So employee engagement in a nutshell, we want to get people to stop saying no, we can't, because, and we want them to start saying yes, we can, if. And when we can make that transition, then people will invest themselves. Now, you're all familiar with the Gallup research results. You know that they are in the Harvard Business Review annually. And you know that Gallup says that there are 3 types of employees. You know that they say there are engaged employees who are passionate about their jobs and who have a profound connection with a brand. And then there are employees who are not engaged. These people run hot and cold. Some days they're on the game, some days they're not. It depends on the weather and whether their team won or not. And then there are the folk who are actively disengaged. And these are the percentages: 20%, 50%, 20%. I'm sorry, 30, 50, 20. And these folk are so disengaged that I believe they're not just disengaged at work, but they're disengaged in life. And these folk are undoing the work done by these. Now, that's what we have to change if we want to build winning workplace cultures. So let's talk about why this is the case. Why is it that employees are so disengaged so much of the time? Now, there's a bunch. One is the culture itself. So Steve and my latest book is on Amazon, Culture Turned And in there, we help you understand how you can measure and assess the culture in your workplace, and then how you can ramp it up and get people to put in place more positive UGRs. But there are other reasons too. In a moment, I'm going to sound like a potty mouth, but I'm just quoting the titles of the books that I'm referencing. Mark Manson's best-selling book, Everything is Fucked, a book about hope for life. It's true, and he wrote this long before COVID. And the truth is that stuff in the world sometimes feels like it's broken. And Mark Manson's key message is, because the world is effed doesn't mean that you have to be, and more so now than ever. But I think it's the effedness of the society around us that is causing people to be disengaged. But there's another reason, and now it's going to sound like I'm continually a potty mouth, or that I just read potty mouth books. David Graeber's best-selling book, David Graeber, professor at the London School of Economics, his best-selling book, Bullshit Jobs, which if you haven't read, and if you are leading people, that you should read. He says that all jobs are bullshit. He speaks to it like this. He says that we are all a bit like King Sisyphus. He says that we are all a little bit like King Sisyphus, rolling this boulder up a hill for all of eternity. And King Sisyphus was doomed to roll this boulder up the hill by the Greek gods forever, only for the boulder to roll down the hill again every single night. So that this is what he did for eternity, they say. David Graeber argues that most of us are in jobs like that. Actually, he says that we're all in jobs like that. He says that all jobs are bullshit until you can figure out one of two things, which I will speak to in a short while. Now, those are some of the reasons that cause people to be actively disengaged in the current environment that we are in. And then, of course, came COVID. And COVID doesn't make this any easier. COVID makes this worse. And then I started to question what we do, because until then, Steve and I, like Steve, I've been doing this for 30 years and some, but we've been in partnership for 20 years. Steve created the UGRs concept, and for the last 20 years, we've been evolving it together. We've managed to help organizations to stop those dominoes from falling so that we can curb some of that negativity and get people to start doing some of the right things. And then came COVID, and then I felt a bit like that, because I wondered whether my voice was still relevant. I wondered whether maybe what I used to say to leaders in organizations would no longer be relevant. I was working in Perth with the government department days before lockdown in South Africa. I just missed having to go into isolation when I got back. And it was during that time that I started wondering, with the advent of what we're going through in the world right now, is my message still valid? And I doubted for a while that my message was still valid. And then for the first time in 30 years, I started digging into some of what I learned in my first career as a soldier. Now, you may or may not know that South Africa was in a 27-year war with the Angolans, backed by the Cubans, tens of thousands of Cubans armed by the Soviets. The Soviets wanted to own the southern tip of the continent because of our rich resources. And in that 27-year war, where there were two wars going on, in one of them, I was on the right side. That one that stopped the fall of the southern tip of the continent to communism. You and your kids should be grateful to the men who fought with me to make that happen. But there was a second war going on in tandem. It was the war for the freedom of Namibia. In that war, I was on the wrong side. And for that, I pay penitence in ways that I'm not going to discuss with you here today. Different conversation. But the truth is that I learned stuff there that is relevant to leadership. And in 30 years of working with leaders, I have never drawn from that well of experience. But now during COVID, I have started doing so. I became an officer. I became a company commander. I'm sitting over there. I became a battalion commander. There's a battalion. There's 400 men in that photograph. I became a battalion group commander with 3 times that number of men under my command. And I was actively involved in the last 10 years of that war. In fact, I was the last combatant commander on the ground when the ceasefire came in April 1989. It was during that time that I learned some of the richest lessons in leadership. I had to take on a mission during that last phase of the war. One day, I needed 20 men to fill helicopters just like this, 2 of them. I was going, so I needed 27 volunteers. I did something that day that would make other military commanders scoff at. I separated the married men from the single. And from the single men, I asked the fathers to step aside. From those remaining men, I asked for my 27 volunteers. And when treble that number stepped forward, I knew that I found myself among men that I would remember for the rest of my life. And I have. And I learned that day that bravery is not what brave men do on the battlefield. Bravery is when people step forward when needed. Bravery is what leaders and healthcare workers are doing in these times. Bravery is what you do every day when you're trying to rescue the company that you are leading. That's bravery. I jumped by parachute into many operations. That backpack weighed more than my body weight. You stand in the door, I would be first to jump in. I'm waiting for the dispatcher to dispatch me after the pilot will switch the light above the door so that we are over the drop zone. And then when the dispatcher slaps you on the back, you step out. And often while I was standing in the door, I would fear that I would be too afraid to jump. And then when he slaps me on the back, I step into the void. And there's a lesson that I think is relevant today. Step into the void. Step into what's ahead of us. Because none of us know where this is going. But we can get out the other side if we do some of the right things. And then for a moment or two, you'll feel alone. You'll feel as if you're alone in this, sometimes the way we do when we lock down in isolation. But soon you realize that you're not alone in this, that together we can get through this. Not only you and your family, you and your colleagues, you and the people who work for you, you and your fellow countrymen, but all of us together, because we are all in this thing together. Anyway, it was then that I realized that I had been mistaken. A few weeks back, I came to the realization I was mistaken. I didn't have to delve back into that part of my life to find the lessons that are relevant for today, because North is always in the same place. And I had forgotten that for a while. I had started to doubt during lockdown whether the voice that I used to speak with was relevant, and now I know it is, because the voice I used to speak to leaders about came from a source far more horrific than anything that we are dealing with right now. The voice that I used to speak to authentic leaders about is the voice of Viktor Frankl, the concentration camp survivor who wrote that book, In Search for Meaning, in which he says that our primary motivational drive is the pursuit of purpose and meaning in life. And he says we can find purpose and meaning for our lives by doing one of two things: by committing ourselves to a cause greater than ourselves, or by committing ourselves to people other than ourselves. And it's Viktor Frankl also who says that we can unleash the potential of another human through the mere act of believing in them. Now, there's a story for another day because we don't have the time to go there now, but even though one person doesn't make a case study, I want to tell you that there, but for the grace of my wife, go away. I met her when I was 26, and she was the first person in my entire life, I lie, the second person in my entire life to have believed in me. The other one was the military commander who saw something in me that no one else saw in me and then helped me to get through the ranks. But when you believe in someone so much that it is an active choice that you make, then they will not be able to fail. And when that happens in life, we can take people to that place where they are willing to invest themselves in us and our organizations in a way that we never thought was possible. Sharon is one of the key account managers in my office. And a while back, she orders a pair of Brogue shoes and they arrive in a box all wrapped up. And in the box is a photograph of a guy holding a poster saying, "I made your shoes." I bet you he started making better shoes when they started putting his photo in the box. If you want to find more purpose for your life, commit yourself to your people to the extent that you believe in them so much that they cannot fail, and then put their photo in the box, metaphorically speaking, and put their photo in every box. And the second thing that Frankl says we have to do is commit ourselves to a cause greater than ourselves. I used to worry about this one because I was concerned that my life would be too small to commit myself to a cause greater than myself. Then it was at Nelson Mandela's memorial service. I was there with my oldest daughter. Her younger sister was abroad studying. It was at Nelson Mandela's memorial service when I heard Barack Obama speak, and Barack Obama said that Nelson Mandela made him want to be a better man. And then I got it. People change when they are good and ready. And most times, they change because of the influence of another human being. Be that influence. Demonstrate excellence in your everyday living that causes people to look at you and to say, I want to be more like that. And then I realized that I don't have to be Nelson Mandela who envisaged the rainbow. I just have to paint a piece of it every day through random acts of kindness, by paying penitence for some of what came before me, by behaving in a way that demonstrates excellence, so that perhaps I can influence other people to choose to change their behaviors. And when I do that, people will become engaged. Somewhere in the highway of life, on the highway of life, there's a billboard with your name on it. And it's beckoning you, telling you what your purpose is. But therein lies the problem. You see, you'll never find your purpose. It will find you. But only when you are ready. And your job is to get ready, and that's what life is busy preparing you for. I'm going to wrap this with an insight around that. Firstly, a reminder from Eckhart Tolle that we have many purposes, not just one. Today, maybe your purpose is to listen and mine is to talk. Maybe today our purpose is to demonstrate a random act of kindness. Maybe our purpose is to do something bigger than ourselves. Maybe our purpose is to do one small thing that goes unnoticed. But you have many purposes. And what we need to do is demonstrate our behavior at a level of excellence that will allow us to step into that purpose. Quick, one paragraph on a guy who really embodies this. I don't know if you remember the Thai boys in that cave, the soccer team that got lost. I don't know if you remember that it was 2 British divers that found them. They were not Navy SEALs, they were just hobby divers. They were very highly trained recreational divers, but just recreational divers. One of them was John from Birmingham. He took this photograph. And then 2 weeks later, on the steps of 10 Downing, when he was recognized for his bravery, he said these words. He said, while diving has always been his passion, he'd been wondering all along if it would ever have any purpose. He says in those last 2 weeks, he realizes now is what he has been preparing for his entire life. And this is true of you and of me too. Everything that has gone before today has only been preparing you so that you will recognize your purpose when it is there, and so that you will be able to step into the void. Because together we can get through this. None of us alone, but all of us together. I'm going to leave this on the screen for a moment so that you can jot that down. There is an essay on authentic leadership there, and you can go and download it. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to trade me your email address. Go there, download it. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for having me. Nigel, thanks for putting this together. And thank you for being an awesome host and for staying on the screen with me.
Oh, lovely to hear your beautiful words there. And I think they've resonated very well around the world. And also, congratulations for doing the multi-camera approach.
It's meant to be all automated. We're battling. This will all work by itself with pressure on the floor. Yes. And we're just a day or 2 late in getting it ready for this session. But it will blow your mind when you see it in full swing.
No, it wasn't too late, I can assure you. I'm not just saying that. I think what's quite interesting, actually, I used to work for SABC, so South African Broadcasting Corporation. And I was always astounded by how the entrepreneurs and the businesses in South Africa, partly out of necessity because of the awfulness of apartheid, and beyond that, that people had to be self-sufficient. They had to make things for themselves because nobody would trade with them for all sorts of reasons. And you've mentioned about the war in Angola as well. So you've always had that get up and do attitude and can do attitude. I think also what's striking is that life is too short not to enjoy work. And actually life would be so much more pleasurable if you adopt the things that you were talking about. But how can you influence your team when they are remotely working or they are socially distancing at work, and the usual rules, the new normal that we know now is what we may have to face over the next few months. So how can we adopt everything you're saying under the rules that we're having to play by?
Well, two things maybe. First is that Steve and I have been understanding in the work that we've been doing during lockdown with our client organizations, we've come to realize that there are new UGRs that have to do with lockdown and with remote working. And there are UGRs about video conferences, and there are UGRs about Zoom calls. And we need to be conscious about how we project ourselves in those environments, because we influence other people to behave in certain ways as well. Small ways, like whether we start and end on time or not. But it's not remote working that is a factor when it comes to us influencing other people, because being distant from people doesn't change the fact that you can influence them. I know that we are all tired of hearing the words like defining moments, but if this is not a defining moment, then nothing is. And how leaders behave now, the empathy that they show now, they are going to be remembered like that forever. And while we are under pressure now, how we behave at this time, that we show empathy for our people. Here's another quick one that comes from those years of mine as a soldier, that they taught me that when I'm cold and tired and hungry, and I'm quoting General Colin Powell here, when I'm cold and tired and hungry, don't let them see that I'm cold and tired and hungry, but let them know that I know that they are cold and tired and hungry. And when I get that right, they will trust me enough to follow me into the darkest night, the deepest valleys, and the highest mountains.
That's very poignant. We've got a quick message here. I hope I've said the name correctly. It's Tashago from South Africa. I did this with Stef 6 years ago with the Blue Bank, and I'm still using the concepts. There you go. That's a good success story.
Well, the Blue Bank is that big bank that is everywhere in the world, and Steve and I worked with them in 26 countries. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're online today. I think that distance does not change the fact that our behavior is infectious, and that we need to demonstrate excellence we need to be excellent in everything that we do. Excellent parents in homeschooling, excellent partners and spouses, excellent neighbors while our neighbors are taking strain and while their dogs are barking. Excellent in recognizing that not far from my house are people who sleep under bridges, people who haven't eaten in days. And when you demonstrate excellence in those small ways, remotely or otherwise, I think we influence others, and they will choose to demonstrate better behaviors by themselves. I think that that's how it works. And if I'm wrong, then my life's work is in vain, because that's all I know and all I believe.
Stef, you are a superhuman being. Thank you very much indeed. Give our love to South Africa.